Hey, it's Jeff Salzenstein, founder of Tennis Evolution, and we got a few more coaches with me today. I'm really excited to have the Essential Tennis team with me. Ian Westermann and his entire team, they do an incredible job at Essential Tennis. And today's video, we are gonna go over how you can get more forehand power. So everything you wanna know about the progressions from the start to the end on how to get more forehand power, we're gonna deliver that to you. Right now, we're gonna start with Kevin Garlington, who's gonna get us going with that first progression.
So the very first thing we want to work on is the coil. It's so important that you have the correct coil. So the keys to having the correct coil is making sure that when you turn, you're turning your hips, but your hips are turning against your shoulders. Meaning that when I turn here, and I have this big shoulder turn, that my hips are slightly facing inside the court and my shoulders are facing more for a turn. And you're gonna see Jeff here, he's gonna demo for us and show us exactly how it looks.
I start in this ready position like this, and I make my first move, and I want to make sure again that my hips stay facing the net more, that they don't turn sideways like we were taught so many years ago.
Yeah, so Jeff, if you're in that position, really notice how we're just isolating this part of his body, how his hips are coming forward, and if I line myself up with his hips, it would be right here, and if I adjusted myself, this would be lining up with his shoulders. So you can really see how he's really turning and coiling against his body to get more power. This is the first phase. The next phase, we're gonna start working on the lower half of what you should be doing to have more forehand power.
Now we're gonna talk about the second most important part, which is the load, that drive on your outside foot. So what I'm gonna have Jeff do is really practice this shadow first, of understanding how the weight is going to transfer to the outside foot and your unit turn position. Okay, how does that feel? Can you feel the coil and the load at the same time?
Absolutely. So the big key again is to load that outside leg so that you can push into the ground so that you can press off the ground to get more power.
Yeah, it's all about driving through with that outside leg. Okay, so what you really want to do is shadow this a few times so that you can start from ready position, get into your unit turn, and that you're using that coil that Kevin was talking about, as well as loading with your weight on the outside foot. So using those at the same time, you don't want to separate them. You want them to work together so that you can create that power. So after you feel good about that shadow to your unit turn, now you want to shadow with the swing. So you're going to start from ready position, get into the unit turn, load and coil, and shadow the swing. I'm going to have Jeff do that a few times so you can really see how he's isolating that load on the outside leg during his coil into the unit turn and swing. Now, a great drill that I'm going to have Jeff do right now, I'm going to bring out Kevin and we're going to introduce the medicine ball. And this really helps you to see and understand that load on the outside so you can feel the difference of really loading and then throwing. Okay, it's very important that you start on your outside, by your outside foot with your hands. You don't want to start in front of your body. So that way you're really mimicking that swing path of coming through on the outside leg. Great, guys. All right, so now if you start with the unit turn shadow, then you're going to go into the full swing shadow. Remember isolating that load during the coil, and then work on this drill. You're really gonna be able to use that drive through the ground to get more power on your forehand. Next up, we're gonna introduce the ball.
Now that Jeff's put in a couple reps with the medicine ball and really felt the weight of that ball loading with his body and then smoothly uncoiling, we're going to start to hit a couple balls. And I'll let him get reacquainted with the motion just by doing 2 shadow swings first. Notice again how he's really emphasizing that outside foot load and then unwinding with his body into the shot. And now I'm going to let him go back to that load on his outside foot, and then I'll drop him a ball and just let him practice pushing off through the ground with that outside foot and uncoiling his body into the ball. We'll give him one more of those. And then the next progression I'd recommend you do, as you get comfortable with this, and in particular, and this is really critical, I should have brought this up a little bit sooner, as Jeff coils and he hits, it's really important that he focuses on keeping his hand and his shoulder really loose and relaxed. If he has any tension, then all that energy flowing up through his body will get choked off and it will not transfer into the ball. What else are you feeling there, Jeff?
Yeah, just stay really loose with my hands. That's a big concept for me, is to always be loose with the hand and the arm and just let that arm go.
Sweet. After he gets a couple of those reps, I'd kind of bring things up to the next level by going a little bit faster tempo. So now I'll raise the intensity a little bit. And again, big emphasis here, if I was coaching Jeff, would be to really have him focus on staying loose and relaxed. As the tempo increases, it's kind of human nature to really get tense and tight. He's doing a great job staying super loose and letting all that energy flow up through his body and out his shoulder, through his hand and into the ball. Next, Kirby's going to show you how to do this with a feed.
Now that we've talked about coiling your body, loading yourself up for a powerful forehand, we want to talk about making that a little bit harder in your progression. So in this progression, we're going to be feeding. Ian's going to be feeding to Jeff from the other side of the court, so that Jeff has a little bit more space and distance to deal with. This is a little bit more challenging, so don't go to this drill until you feel really confident with the one before. All right, let's start seeing a few reps so that Jeff can really put it together. So every time that he hits, Jeff is coiling his body, he's loading on the outside leg and really uncoiling while keeping a really loose arm. Now, Jeff is a really top-notch player, so he's able to do this and execute at a high level. But let's say that he was watching at home and having some struggles. Now, in that case, I would want Jeff to slow down and even take a step. So let's just pretend that Jeff is failing miserably. We have to pretend. So all I want you to do, Jeff, is go back, take a few seconds, pause, and go back to a couple of shadow swings. All right, so a couple shadow swings. Awesome. Just reiterating the techniques that are so important to put all of these things together. All right, now we're gonna reintegrate the ball, but Jeff, I only want you to swing at 40%. So drop it down even slower. Good. So the whole thing, the whole concept behind this is that you can't run until you can walk. And if you are not hitting the ball with control, then power doesn't matter. Jeff already has control, so he's slowly, incrementally building up 10% at a time. All right, so Jeff, nice job.
Thank you.
Keep going. Let's go back to 75%. So 75% is what I would recommend that you work all the way up to, because that's a solid rally ball.
You know, one thing I'd like to add, Kirby, is that that's a big concept, is just being smooth. So many players overhit.
Right.
And then they lose their follow through, they lose their swing. And I think it's just so important to really focus on being smooth and under control and building that consistency.
Perfect. Let's see a couple more reps so that you can see the smoothness and really watch how loose Jeff stays. That is the key to the ultimate power. Next up, Kevin's gonna talk about putting all of these things together in an even more challenging way.
Now it's time to wrap everything up and talk about having a cooperative rally and the keys to having a great cooperative rally. And what do you think that is? But cooperating. Meaning that every time you guys go out with a partner, is that one person's not trying to hit the ball harder and the other person's trying to change the tempo and rhythm of the rally. You want to keep it the same way each time. Another really important key is to notice that Jeff is using different stances, whether it be open stance or him stepping into the ball. He's always trying to load as much as possible. And this leads us into one more topic that Jeff's going to cover right here.
Yeah, so it's a big topic to focus on loading, focus on coiling, staying loose with the arm. All of that is great, but in a live ball situation, you can't really think about 4 things, 5 things, 6 things at the same time. So you can pick one thing, one progression that you're focusing on in this forehand power series that can really help you out. And just remember, you can't load every single time. You have to be able to improvise. And just know that if you keep building on these progressions, you are going to develop more forehand power.
Okay, so in wrapping everything up, we just saw how Jeff went through all these different progressions, from coiling to loading the leg to having that nice loose arm. They're so important. Take your time going through each progression. And then also with the cooperative rally, that making sure the timing and the tempo are even so you guys get the most out of it. So in that case, go out and practice, have a great time.
Hey, it's been great making this video with you guys. A ton of fun helping all of you get more forehand power. And make sure that you check out the Essential Tennis YouTube channel. They've got a lot of great content over there. Again, had a ton of fun collaborating on this video, and enjoy.
Thanks, Jeff.